as long as you take this woman and you have sex with her, she's your wife.
Oh my gosh, I made the biggest mistake of my life.
You stayed married for how long?
What's everybody gonna think? I'm gonna look like a total failure. I don't want this child to be raised without a father. I know what I endured. I saw how it almost destroyed me. I feel like I went in a 10 and I came out a -2.
Do you think that you were delusional? You know, the news started going around and people started to find the reasons for the divorce. You know, it's like they prey on your downfall. Don't get married. I look nice.
Yes, you look nice. May I kiss?
All right, ready? Hey guys, welcome back to another episode on Unfiltered Heart Talks with the Dawkins.
Welcome, guys.
I'm here with my beautiful wife, and we are going to be having a very serious, delicate, and of course, sensitive discussion with you today. Not necessarily a discussion, but a conversation.
Yes.
We want to have a conversation with you guys. Of course, we recognize the importance of this topic. We spoke about it in our last episode.
Yes, our love story.
Right. So you guys go over there and check that. It's 3 episodes.
3.
Go check them out, guys. Very interested. And then that will help you guys to understand how we got here.
Yes.
So what is this topic that we're going to be talking about today?
Today's topic is why did I stay married
And why did
why did I get divorced?
And of course, we understand, as I mentioned, how sensitive this topic and this subject is
Yes.
overall to many individuals, to the Christian community, to those who are single, to those who are married and going through their marital problems, you know, and to those who are looking forward to getting married.
Yes.
And it is not that we are promoting divorce
No.
in any way, as you always say that what?
Divorce is never
Divorce
the answer.
is never the answer. And so understanding the seriousness of this subject and the sensitivity, we are also cognizant of the fact that sharing this experience will bring forth a certain level of scrutiny.
Yes.
And we have also recognized that by sharing our experience with you guys,
Yes.
there might be individuals in our community who can truly learn from this experience and find clarity to questions that they need answers for. You know, the reality is that marriage has been on the decline for many years,
Yes.
and there have been so many challenges with marriages, and not only that, but the divorce rate has proliferated drastically throughout the years. And so I believe that our story can help not only to help someone else find clarity, but can be used to prevent those choices that individuals out there will make that will eventually put them in a place where they might only have divorce as an
As an
option.
option.
You know, so I hope our story, guys, can really help to eliminate some of those potential poor choices.
Yes.
We have our experience, and as I said, we are choosing to share this with you guys, and we just hope that, you know, they will indeed learn from it.
Yes.
So again, the topic we have for you guys today,
Why did I stay married?
and
why did I get divorced?
But of course, some context.
Yes.
We have both been married before, and also we have both been divorced.
Yes.
And today, we want to share with you all, why did we get married and what happened, what transpired throughout our marriage that led to an eventual divorce. Before you tell our audience why you stayed married, tell them, why did you get married in the first place?
Well, I'm like the average girl, grew up playing with dolls, and I wanted, like the average girl, to get married one day, have a family, the white picket fence life. So I got married because within me there was a desire, an inborn desire to one day have a lifelong partner and raise a family. That's the main reason I got married. Secondly, was because I knew that I didn't want to do dating in life the way I did before. When I said yes to Christ, which happened in 2019, I didn't want to just be dating around and meeting people. I wanted to find someone, find my person, say I do, build a life together, and grow old together. I wanted to do things God's way. What's the point of dating for 10 years and never tying the knot? So I wanted to go about the right way of doing things by getting married. So I got married.
Right.
Another reason I got married was because it's expected of you societally to be married at a certain age.
Societal norms.
It's a societal norm to eventually get married. So the expectation of those around me, the childhood dream of being a mom and a wife one day, and just wanting to do things God's way, among other things. But those are the core reasons I got married.
Okay. All right. Well, you and I share similar views as it relates to biblical marriage versus what society view as being married. And of course, this is not a biblical discussion.
Yeah.
But we understand that marriage is a commitment between a man and a woman, and that commitment, as the Bible says, that the man should leave his family and cleave to his own wife, And you and I both share similar views as it relates to marriage. And we understand also that there is a vast difference between biblical marriage and societal marriage. Within society, there's a certain way things are supposed to be done for you to be considered married, where you need to get the dress, the ring,
Documents signed.
Get the documents signed by the state. But biblical marriage is not so. God is saying, listen, as long as you take this woman inside your tent, as Isaac did, and you have sex with her, she's your wife. So we understand marriage from that biblical perspective, and just wanted to throw that out there. So for me, I got married. For one, it's not necessarily because it was a childhood dream, because I grew up in a single parent household, a household, as I said previously, where parents was hardly in the home. It is not something that was an influence in my life at all. It didn't shape my worldview, so it's not something that I look forward to. It was not until I got baptized, I started going to church, getting involved in these dating discussions and stuff like that that used to happen in the church. And I said used to, that really helped me to develop a worldview of marriage, and I wanted that for myself also. However, when I got to university, that was where it really started to dawn on me that, hey, you need to find yourself a wife. And one of the reasons was that pastoral ministries of such, where one of the things that they used to talk about is the fact that conferences don't want to employ you if you're not married. I'm not saying that's a hard and fast rule, or it is a standardized rule or something that they have in law. This was just things that we used to talk about among theologians.
But it makes sense though. It makes sense though. Remember, I was sharing with you at some point, I read some article that stated that companies are more willing to hire married men because they are happier and they live longer. So it could be an actual fact or some statistic.
I'm not sure. But it was never something that we actually got facts for. It was just, senior theologians who were going into pastoral ministry. They used to say, hey, the conferences don't want to hire because, we're not married. And for me, that was a thing where I was looking at, I can understand it, because if you get married, then that limits the potential attention that you will get from your congregations
yes.
that you will be serving in. So I was thinking that maybe they're looking at it from that perspective, which is not bad. At least you go there as a married pastor. All the young ladies within the congregations don't necessarily have to be looking at you with the hope to find themselves in a relationship with you.
Yes. And also, when you take a man and put him in a position, he'll function.
Right.
But when you take a man and a woman and put them in that position together, they can do way more, because look at that. You're not going in the church by yourself, but you have a wife.
Right.
They have somebody to, the women that would otherwise be drawn to you as a potential partner are drawn to your wife. How is she doing this? How is she doing that? How let me, and she can get advice from you. So I see it working well, I see it working well. And I if that is a hard rule, I can understand why they would implement
definitely,
that.
Definitely. And I saw that. So that was part of my influence.
Yes.
And not just because of pastoral ministry, but the church's view, the church's influence overall. You and I both know.
Yes.
You're there at Jamaica, you have your little girlfriend, the girls them have them little boyfriend. As soon as the church members see you, when
you get married.
So it was a thing where church members love to see young people in relationships, and more so they love to see young people getting married.
Yes.
And as soon as they get married, and
when are you have children? When did I have a baby? Like them giving the money to put on.
Right. So these are the influence or the pressures that comes from the church community, and we understand that and we know it. But did it influence me? Yes, it did. And so that was really my main reason for getting married. The church's influence and my career choice.
Yes.
Right. Those are the two things that really influenced me.
Wow.
So, yes. So we have both just shared our experience.
In a nutshell.
As to why we both got married.
Yes.
So you got married in what?
2020.
2020.
Yes.
And I got married in 2015.
Ooh. Yeah, you didn't waste no time getting married.
I did well for 2 years, as we would have mentioned before. It was a long time.
Yes.
Dating someone.
Yeah.
But you stayed married for how long?
I'd say 2 years. You're talking about to the point where the marriage was irretrievably broken, or to the point where the documents were signed? Because
well, wait, let's put it at when you got separated.
Oh, so I'd say a year, 2 years in, or a year and a half in. Yeah.
Why did you stay married for 2 years?
Well, when I just got into the relationship, as I must have shared with you many times, I saw challenges, I saw issues, but I, like the normal individual, the logical individual, said, yeah, getting to know anybody is difficult.
Right.
So when I saw problems arising, abusive tendencies, I just thought we're two different people from two different cultures, so many different things, and marriage is hard. That's what I kept on telling myself. Marriage is hard, so just give it a little while.
Right.
Give it a little while. So I kept on telling myself marriage is hard, and we just got married. And I remember one day I was at the apartment and I'm like, oh my gosh, I made the biggest mistake of my life.
Wow.
I made the biggest mistake of my life, but I just got married. What's everybody gonna think? I'm gonna look like a total failure. And then I tried to, quench, the thoughts of leaving by saying marriage is hard. This is just the rough patch. They say if you survive 7 years, if you survive 7 years, you're gonna last. So I said, maybe if I push it to year 7, things will be better. And I found that not to be so. Another reason I stayed married was because of my children. In the previous marriage, I had 2 children, and I love my babies so much. I love my babies so much. I love my babies.
Keep telling me.
I love my babies so much.
I know
And
you love them.
when I got pregnant first, I knew I should have left. But then I was thinking, I don't want this child to be raised without a father. And even though I had every reason to just end it there,
Right.
I didn't. I didn't end it. And then I had a second child. And I was like, okay, I can't leave now. I'm not in any financial situation to do this. I'm a full-time homemaker and a full-time mom. I have no money. I have 2 children. I can't go anywhere. I have to stay put, So I have 2 children and I'm going through hell in this situation. And I decided, well, I can't leave because marriage is hard. I can't leave because I have 1 child. I can't leave now because I have 2 children. And I can't leave because I have no financial footing.
Right.
So I was looking at that. And also the church. God of mercy. I just got married. It has not lasted any time.
Right.
And I'm going to get divorced. Because I can remember a minister saying, God hates divorce and the devil hates marriages. So you just stick it out.
Which he does.
Which is true.
God does hate divorces.
But there are situations where you have to get out. If your life is in danger, like mine was, I had to get out.
Right.
So those are the reasons I stayed,
Also
among
played a
others.
role
Yes.
in that. Many people listening to your story right now would ask the questions, many questions from what you said. What were there challenges before the first child? Some might ask, after the first child, didn't you think to yourself to leave?
Yes.
And these are the realistic questions that people are going to ask. How do you give a response to those questions?
Okay. Did I realize any challenges? Absolutely. But us as women, we like to delude ourselves into seeing things that are not there. And that's what I did. I was hoping that because this guy sounded mature.
Right.
And as we mentioned before, maturity comes in stages.
Maturity does come in stages.
So not because somebody looks or sounds mature means that they are mature to handle everything.
Especially marriage.
Marriage is you have to have broad shoulders to handle marriage.
Yeah, that's true.
Marriage
is a full-time job.
It is a full-time job. So I saw things that were concerning, but I deluded myself into thinking that these things will go away or they're not much of a big deal. Like the cultural incompatibility, the lack of integrity I observed, all these negative things, which there's so many to list. I saw them, but I said, things will change.
Mm-hmm.
Things will change. And I stayed.
Mm.
Not only stayed, I saw them, got married,
Mm.
and then I stayed for 2 years. But there's something that happens, when you fall in love or you believe you fall in love.
Said love is blind.
Yeah. It's not even that. I don't think you're completely blind. I think we have some rose-colored shades on that prevent us from seeing things as they actually are in their true colors. And I believe I was in that stage. And even when I took the glasses off, I was trying to
Right.
somehow still see things through those lenses. So
something
the
you
next
said,
question.
something you said. I wanted to ask you the question. So I'm gonna grab my phone because I want to ensure I want to type your questions down so I can ask them.
Okay,
to you.
okay.
I
You want to
to
use mine? You can use mine.
All right.
Yes.
No, since yours has
notes on it. Okay.
So let me use mine.
Okay.
Because I do want to ask the questions as they come. Because even though some of these things are things that we would have discussed or have conversations on before, as you talk about them to me, it's like you're just saying them
a new story. Yeah.
So I definitely want to ask you some questions that I think our audience would like
be
to
interested
know
in knowing.
yeah, for sure.
And also, while you're writing your questions down,
right.
if you have any question for us about our experience, we would love if you'd place them in the comments below and we will get to them in a timely manner. Thank you. So the other question, I'm going to answer the other question.
Yes.
So didn't you think about leaving after the first child or the second child?
Right.
I wanted my family to stay together. Despite the dysfunction, despite all that was going on, I wanted a whole family. Because like you, I grew up in a single parent home.
Right.
The beautiful thing about the fact that I grew up in a single parent home, I don't know if that makes sense, is that my parents had such a good relationship.
Right.
I love my daddy. I still call him daddy. And I love my mom. And never has my...
Shout out to mom.
Yes. And never has my dad painted my mom or poisoned my mind towards my mom. Right. And never has my mom poisoned my mind towards my dad. Right. So it's, even though they were apart and I wish that they were together, I received so much love from them. And even when I hear them interact today, they are very civilized. They're very mindful.
Right.
And it's no longer about me because I'm grown, but they still have a cordial relationship and they care about each other like civilized human beings.
Something that is lacking in society today.
Yeah, so there was no thing about my parents co-parenting. They just loved me and they gave 100% whether together or apart.
Right. Only if society was like that today, where two parents could be apart and still effectively co-parent. It's all about, I think parenting has now moved from a place where it's not about the children, it's about the person, it's about me, it's about so there are more selfishness involved in parenting now than there was before. Yeah, for sure. I mean, my mother, my father was the same thing and they both gave 100%. Right. And my father was married to a different woman. My mother had her partner and they were living their lives, but they still co-parent for the betterment of the child.
And it's crazy because
that's sad.
Because now I'm thinking about something that somebody shared with me when I was going through a rough patch, and we were in this wonky stage where the divorce is processing, and there's this process during litigation where they give you time to see how things will play out, whether you will reconcile or not.
Right.
And I remember just thinking to myself, I wouldn't want this for my family, but I know better than to go back. I know what I endured. I saw how it almost destroyed me. I saw how people couldn't even recognize me.
Wow.
Yeah,
I remember.
So I'm not going back. I couldn't even convince myself to go back, even if I tried to play dumb. And I remember what someone told me once. The person told me, I wish my parents got divorced. And I said, why? because I was like talking, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I want to, but I wish it didn't have to go this way. And they're like, I wish my parents got divorced, because the hell that we went through and we saw behind the scenes, they were better off apart, because all of that trauma and drama is just,
Negatively
it's
impacts the
so,
children
it negatively
or the
impacts the child,
Yeah.
and it soaks in them over the years.
Wow. Yeah.
So people think that, okay, I'm not getting a divorce. We've been married for 75 years. And then the children are like, I wish y'all just divorced.
Wow.
And he told me, he's like, don't feel bad. I wish my parents got a divorce, because we would be in a better place mentally today.
One of the things that you said that usually crosses my mind, we are now living in an era where women have gotten far more independent than they were 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And we talk about marriages being on the decline and how the divorce rate have proliferated throughout the years. And it makes me wonder, now that women are financially stable, they have the money that they need, if challenges comes and they don't want to deal with it,
They
then
can leave.
they can just pack their bags and leave.
Well,
It makes me wonder, because I've heard about stories where women will say, if I had money, I would have left.
yeah.
And it makes me wonder how much of this influences a woman's decision to leave if she's financially independent. Is she more willing to stay? For example, in a situation where the relationship is fixable, right? Is she more willing to stay and fix it and work on it? Or is it a case where having the financial stability makes her want to just pack her things and leave, knowing that she does not need to depend on her man or her husband financially?
Well, it's unique to every situation. But does it make it easier for a woman now versus then? Absolutely.
Yeah.
In my situation, I should have left a long time ago. I was afraid. I had 2 children, just went through a C-section, and I had no money. And the funny thing is, I wanted to work so that I could bring some money in, because I like live large. I can't squat and squabble and them little things. I like live large, right? And in my previous marriage, he didn't want me to work.
Wow.
He didn't want me to work. And, somebody would be like, well, he just wants you to just stay at home and take care of the children. I was willing to do something at home so that we could be in a better financial situation. And when you talk about culture is another thing, because some men from this culture just want to, quote, and I quote, exact words, milk the system.
Wow.
I'm from a culture where I work for what I want. And you see, when I have it, I feel good because I put blood, sweat, and tears into it.
Yeah.
Other people expect everything to be handed to them.
Yeah.
So in my situation,
victimization mentality.
So in my situation, I wanted to work to put myself ahead and put or family ahead, because I saw that this person didn't want to keep a job, wasn't willing to work.
Wow.
And it was sticky.
Right.
Had I been in that situation, it would have put me in a better situation to actually leave sooner.
Right.
But I didn't have any money at all.
That's where family comes in.
Family support.
But one of the things that I believe personally, if we have a relationship dynamic where I'm going to be the main breadwinner, meaning that you are at home sitting down. Let me not say sitting down.
Please don't do that.
I know how you feel about.
You don't want to sit at home. It's a whole job.
But sitting down means you're at home taking care of the children and the household and the household responsibilities.
You're operating the home economy. Make it sound big enough, because it's bigger than life.
Okay.
It's bigger than life.
So if we were supposed to have that relationship dynamic where you were to be the one
running the home economy.
Right. I believe that as a man, I should be giving you an allowance. And this is something that I believe. And I don't know how crazy this sounds, but if a woman is going to be with a man who expects her to stay home and take care of the home operations, and he's not going to provide her with an allowance, whether it be monthly or bi-weekly as he gets paid, then for me, that's a recipe for disaster. Because I think about my sister. If my sister was supposed to get in a relationship with a man who, let's say, as the world puts it, high value. We both know that value has to do with character and not so much money.
Yes.
But if my sister was supposed to get in a relationship like that, I would tell her, hey, make sure that if it is his decision or both of you make the decision for you to stay home and take care of the household operations, make sure that he brings you an allowance monthly. And personally, I wouldn't want to have a relationship dynamic with you where I am out there working 100% and you are at home not getting involved in the working world. There are so many jobs online that people can get involved in. I would expect for you, and this is just preference for me, and of course, it's not something that we have an issue with if it should go to that. I know for a fact that you are the type of woman who likes to hold your own.
Yes, ma'am.
And of course, if I'm going to be out there working, I'm going to give you your allowance. And on top of that, I would also want you to get involved in something. Just find something and do.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be
outside of the home economy.
Right. It doesn't have to be something that is bringing in $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month. But even if it's $1,000,
yes,
and it goes a far way.
And when we look at Proverbs, the Proverbs 31 woman, I'm sure she's probably getting an allowance. I don't know. Fact check me in the comments below. But she is doing much more than baking bread every morning, sewing clothes. She's buying a field, and it could be her husband's money that she's reinvesting elsewhere. But she's moving finances around. She's making money moves. So that's very important. And I'm glad that I'm with somebody who values that. Yeah, and as I said, in that previous relationship, that dynamic was there, even though I wanted to help in putting everything together. I think he had the idea that if I were in the position, then I would have decision-making authority. And I was supposed to submit under his authority. So if I'm able to see eye to eye and help make decisions, then the power dynamic would be off. It would be off a little bit. But in the situation with him, I think he was trying to recreate a environment like he grew up in, where his mom stayed at home with the children for some time. She had 8 children, and dad was out of the home most of the time, so much so that he only saw him on the weekends. So practically the government and mom and the stimulus that she gets from the government was what raised the children. And it looks pretty, on the outside, but there's so many holes and worms in between all of that.
Yeah, when you understand that.
When you understand that system, yeah. And I wasn't for that. And I didn't want to perpetuate that.
I believe that strong men like women who are strong and independent. When as a man you are sure of yourself, your values and what you stand for and your principles, then having a woman who is strong, who knows you, who understands you, who respects you, is never an issue for a strong man. No, it doesn't intimidate you. No. It doesn't intimidate you at all. You are naturally a strong woman, but you are also very, very feminine. And you know me, I am a very strong man.
Yeah.
And you understand that. You respect me. I just don't understand the mindset within a man who finds a woman and you don't seek to elevate her. You don't seek to push her. You don't seek to motivate her. Like for me as a man, I don't care how you come into my life. When you leave, I want people to see you in a better light.
Yes.
And you talk about, you know, when you left the marriage and how
Oh
broken you
God.
were.
I feel like I went in a 10 and I came out a -2.
And even when we started
That's
talking about,
crazy.
you were so slim, you lost all your weight,
Yes.
everything. But it never for once affected my mind to say that, hey, I'm going to be with her and she's not looking her best. Because while I am attracted to your physical features, you know how much I deeply love and care for you. You know, so for me, I look at you as an artwork.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and it might sound crazy
To
to
build
some
up and
people,
not tear
to build you
down.
up. You know, now we're going to the gym. You're looking amazing.
Thank you.
We're both looking great. So I always believe that as a man, you should always invest in your woman. You should always seek to motivate her, to push her, you know, to become her best. And I'm not saying that that's something you should be doing for anybody,
Yes.
you know, but if you find someone who you can definitely see that this person ticks all the boxes, this person is, according to the scriptures, it's a suitable partner for
Operative
me.
word.
We're going to talk about
Suitable.
that. Suitable partner. And that's someone that you want to invest in.
Yes.
And where's your wife? Come on.
Oh God.
You know, where's your wife? You want to invest in her. You know, yeah, but I just believe that when a woman see that she has a man who supports her and who pushes her, motivates her, then what harm can it do to me as an
No.
individual? You know, she can only love me more.
Yes.
Yeah.
I heard Dr. Jordan Peterson speak about how a man will punch above his weight, get a woman that is way above his standard, and will pull her down just so that he feels better about himself. Like, I was in that situation. When I heard Dr. Jordan Peterson speak about that, I was shocked because it's almost like he was looking into my past marriage.
Wow.
So what about those men? Like, what causes that? Where did this come from?
Inferior complex. Jordan Peterson has said before that a man who is secure within himself usually has probably one friend or no friend at all. And I'm just paraphrasing. He did make a presentation on this. But the message I got from that, and it is so reflective of my life. I am so secure in who I am that I don't need a group around me to validate who I am as a person. You know, I validate myself, and my relationship with God also validates me. So that puts me in a place where I also recognize my weight. And sometimes, you know, as we always say in the gym, lift what you can. You know, lift what you can. It's not everything that you can lift, you should lift.
Yeah.
Because for those who know me, know that when it comes to squatting and lifting heavy weights, I can do it, but I don't because I understand how detrimental it can be on my health within the long term.
Yeah,
You know,
buddy.
as we talk about Ronnie Coleman is a perfect testimony, a perfect reflection of that. You know, but you do find men like that. They just, and I think it's an ego thing as well, where you just want to prove to the audience or the group around you that, hey, look, I can get this chick or I can get this girl. But then for me, if I can't, if your values and views doesn't align with mine, if you want to live in the city and I know that I'm a country boy, you know, I'm not going to even approach you. Or even if we started the conversation, I'm going to tell you that, look, based on your values and what you want, we don't align. You know, and that's where we talk about unequally yoked. If you notice that the woman likes her expensive hairstyle. She likes to live in expensive apartments. She likes her nails done weekly, and she likes her man to take care of
High
that.
maintenance girls.
Yeah, if you
Yes.
know that she's high maintenance, then just leave her alone. Don't
Yeah.
even
No,
try
get
to
involved
get
with her and
involved with her
jar
and then try
down.
to pull her
You
down.
know, yeah, it's not
So,
good.
and it's not even to say that you lack confidence in yourself, because I believe that it's confident in yourself that makes you understand your values and your weight, what you can manage and what you cannot manage. And it's not a lack of confidence that makes me look at a particular girl and say, I don't want to be with her. It's confidence and value in who I am, understanding who I am as a person.
And whether
what
that's going to align with your values.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's what it is.
So you had a question that you wanted to ask me.
The question, you talk about being delusional.
Yes.
And so often we have heard the word being thrown around by so many people. And a lot of times you will hear guys saying, oh, women are so delusional. To a certain extent, I believe that some women are. But I equally also believe that some men are also delusional. The question is, do you think that you were delusional? Or is it a case where you were in love and you were blinded by that reality?
That's a good question. Really good question. Was I delusional or was I in love?
And blinded by that reality?
Well, it almost sounds the same. Delusional or in love?
Do you think delusional means the same as being in love?
No. But you behave delusional when you're in love. So was it delusional? I believe that I thought that there was a spark there.
Were you in love? Let me ask you that.
In love? I've only been in love once.
With who?
You.
Ah, okay.
I've only been in love once. You know, you can't stop it. Anyway, I've only been in love once.
Right.
I remember telling you the story of when I was here once, and that's before I just got married the first time in 2020.
Right.
And I thought to myself that because this guy was in theology as well, because he was pursuing that path that you were on, then maybe this is God giving me a second chance at you. So I thought that being with him was God giving me a second chance at you. So even at that point, up to that point, before getting married, I was thinking about you. And I think that hope that I could experience what we had was what got me in there. I wasn't going into this relationship like the average person who just fell in love. Of course, you know, there were the early stages of being happy, you know, getting to like the person, normal. But head over heels, completely blind, no. I was just seeing what he was portraying, which was really a pretense. To be very responsible, to know the Jamaican culture very well. I was just seeing what he was portraying, and if he kept up the act, I would still be married today.
Wow.
You know, if he did keep up the act, I'd still be married today. But the mask slips, and then eventually it falls, and then people get comfortable and they don't put on their mask. They just wear it when they're leaving the home. So that's what I had to endure.
You know my view or my views when it comes to women in relationships, men, and how we operate in relationships and the challenges that we equally come with in relationships. I believe, like Jordan Peterson, that men and women are not so much different. We are different.
Of course.
But in reality, when it comes to our functionality, how we function when it comes to certain things within certain contexts, especially within relationships. We're not so much
We
different.
want the same things.
We all want the same things.
Yes.
We all desire the same things.
Yeah.
So we are very closely alike when it comes to the things we desire and the things we want, such as security and the support and things like that within relationships. The reality is, woman delusional sometimes, yeah, but men delusional too sometimes, because as you share your experience about what you were going through in your marriage, you know, I kind of reflect on my experience that I had in my last relationship. Was I delusional? I was.
But before you get there, when did you get married? When did you get married? I want us to talk about that. When did you get married, and why did you stay married that long? Because you stayed married a long time. I remember looking at it and I'm like, whoa, he passed the 7-year mark. That means they're gonna stay married forever. Kudos to them. You know, I never saw a divorce coming. Because I believe in that theory that if you can survive the first 7 years with a partner, that means that you can survive a lifetime with them.
Right.
So when I saw that you passed the 7-year mark, I was like, he's good. And whatever they're going through, you know, whether good, bad, or ugly, they're going to survive. So what kept you married for 8 years? Was it 8?
8 years, 10 years together.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Just so you know, that's impressive. You know, some people can't even stay married for 2 years.
Once again, guys, divorce is never the answer.
Yes, it's never the answer. We believe that it's best to come to a relationship a whole person. And if each person is willing to work on themselves and bring their best to the table and that relationship, there is no way in heaven or under earth that relationship will fail, unless, you know, God says it's not supposed to be. So right. Yeah, so
because I believe that there are relationships that weren't supposed to be joined together in the first place. You know?
Not because the state sanctioned something doesn't
and even
mean that
before
God joined it.
And even before I get because the state can sanction a marriage, but it doesn't mean that God approves of it.
Exactly.
You know, so that's one thing. So I got married in 2015. This is going to give away my age. Well, not necessarily. I got married in 2015. And as you know, I dated for a few years before I got married.
Before getting married, okay.
However, I did get married really young. I think I got engaged being around 22 years old, 21, 22. And I got married in 2015, right? So what kept me married for so long was, in a nutshell, just the fact that I was so involved in church ministry, you know, to the point where what the church had to say was far more important to me
than your happiness.
Than my happiness.
Wow.
So getting married 23 years old. And you know what's crazy? I remember when I was engaged to get married, there is a famous pastor back home, and I called him. I said, hey, can you counsel us to get married? And he said, what semester are you in? What year are you in university? And I said, I think I was in my first, going into my second year. And he said, okay, how old are you now? I said, 22. He said, no, you're not ready to get married. I said, why? And he said, you have no finances. And not only that, but you are just going into your second year. It's not a case where you were in your final year and
or
you
junior
were going to
senior,
you know, and you were about to step out into that working world where you could provide the finances you need for your marriage. So I wasn't happy. And I remember also there was another instance where a particular lecturer said to me, he asked me, why are you getting married? And I said, what do you mean, why am I getting married? He said, you're too young. And not only that, you're not compatible. And I was like, who is this man? You don't know me like that. You know, you don't know her. How are you going to say that we're not compatible? But were we compatible in reality? I don't think so. I don't think that we were compatible in one bit. You know, there's a famous writer. She said, if you're going to get married, did I say this in the last episode?
I don't know.
But let me say it. She said, if you're going to get married, and I'm just paraphrasing, and there are challenges before the altar,
Yes.
and you walk to the altar, but there is one single challenge that was not fully resolved, don't get married.
Wow.
And for so often, you find yourself in situations where you see all the red flags,
Tell me about
but you just ignore them.
Tell me about
So it goes back to what I was saying. Men and women were not so much different. Men sometimes are delusional, and to a certain extent, we can call it being in love. And I don't think that I was in love. That's the truth.
Stubbornness, man.
It's just a case where, you know, I wanted to be married, and pastoral ministry, you get a nice wife where look like the modern say Ellen White. But not necessarily look like Ellen White, but has
Ellen
that
White
character.
Ellen White character.
Have that Ellen White character. Yeah, I say, yeah, man, it's a perfect wife for me.
Yeah, because it would look in line with what.
And the truth is, oftentimes we neglect our physical needs as men in the church just so that we can get married to someone who fits within that criteria that the church has for you.
That image criteria, yes.
You know, and that's kind of what I did.
Oh, wow.
I wasn't necessarily physically attractive, but this person had a good character. So I said, wow, you know, perfect. You know, but it's never good to neglect your physical needs and think about, oh, I'm more so of a character kind. 1%, they don't make the rule, you know, but I would say to any man that you need to make sure that you're physically attracted to the person that you are intellectually attracted to.
Wow.
You know. But for me, I got married and I was way too young. In reality, I wasn't prepared to handle that level of responsibility. Yes. Did I handle it financially? Eventually, I turned out to do well. You know, I eventually started low at the bottom. Why for that? I started from the ground and I moved.
Started from the bottom now.
I started from the ground.
Ground zero.
I started from the ground.
Yes.
And I moved up the ladder, you know.
You're not easy.
And God had it that, you know.
Take it out. And you built up, right? You built up.
But I built up and I was doing very well. Landed a very good job. Was doing very well. So financially, I was doing well. The reality is, I got married still being in love with you. But as I mentioned in the last episode, sometimes we just believe as men that, hey, we can move on. We can replace her. We're going to find us somebody who is better than her. You know, but first love, there's something about the first love, man, may I tell you. The first love thing, it's not normal. Yeah. You know.
That's true.
So I got married, and I remember there were times when we would have arguments, and she would say, "You look like you give all of your love to Ebony." She would say that.
Did you know my name?
Yeah, she knew your name because remember I was just coming out of a relationship with you, and then mommy was still in my life, and then there was no separation between me and your mom, which is my mom also. Yeah, you know. Oof. So, of course, she knew you. And in the marriage, she could just tell that I wasn't in love with her. Did I love her, appreciated her? Yes, I did. But I wasn't necessarily in love with her. And I think that what we had affected my ability to, it affected my ability to live out the rest of my days being happy with someone else who was not you. So, yeah, that did have a huge effect on me, as well as there were other issues within the relationship that was happening. And I was just way too young. I was way too young. I wasn't ready for a marriage. That's the truth. If you remember when we were younger and we were sitting down talking about marriage, we were talking about wanting to be married at 27, 28.
Yes, around
Got
that
married at
age.
21, 22.
That's
Like,
way too soon. Yes.
you know, if you, even, I would say this, even if you are in the 1% as a man or as a woman, having a successful marriage, it's never the answer. Meaning that
What do you mean?
it's never something that I would encourage because
Oh.
1% never makes the rule.
So let me clarify because it sounded a little bit jumbled there. So you're saying that you wouldn't encourage somebody to get married that young, even if the marriage survives.
Yes, even if there are experiences of people at that age getting married and having a successful marriage,
You still wouldn't
I
encourage
still
that
wouldn't
young
encourage
age.
it because I
Okay.
mean it's just 1%.
I just wanted to be clear because I didn't want our audience to be in that same
Right.
loophole that I'm in. Like, what?
Yeah.
What did you say?
So, yeah, and that's just 1%. But for me, I was way too young. I was definitely not ready for a marriage. Then, with you still being in love with you, you shaped my reality of what marriage is, what relationship is, not marriage, but what relationship is and what I wanted as a man in my life. And so for me, it was like not being with you. I still lived my life in search for the next Ebonique. And that's how I ended up even in my last relationship, to the point where I just believed that I had a shot
That's crazy.
at you again.
That's
You know?
crazy.
So we were both going through the same things in different contexts.
Yes.
So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because we often said that, your last relationship was a counterfeit to me, and
Yeah.
my past marriage was a counterfeit to you.
yeah.
Wow.
And so was I delusional? When my best friend tell me, say, my youth, you're an idiot.
Mercy.
You know,
Why did you say that?
because like after the relationship ended and I started sharing some of the things that I went through in that relationship, it's like, bro, like seriously, love is blind. And
I wouldn't say love is blind.
I think that I was so desperate to be with someone who was a reflection of you, to the point where it's like I was willing to overlook the challenges, the red flags, and
flaws,
everything, the flaws, just to be with this person that reminds me of you.
I remember the afternoon that you were telling me, I think I found somebody that I'm actually really in love with. And I remember telling you.
No, and I said something else. And
you said you finally found somebody that you believe that reminds you. You said you finally found somebody that reminds you of me, and that you think you're really in love. And
how did that make you feel?
I was in my cold era, I couldn't even stand seeing a guy in a suit.
Wow.
I couldn't stand seeing a guy in a suit because I was going through that healing process, trying to detox of all the negative experiences that I went through. And I remember telling you, good for you, I mean, no one a man.
Right.
I just remember telling you that. But wow.
Yeah. The first love thing is a serious thing, If you have that one person that you were so deeply in love with, or that you fell in love with, and that's a person that shaped your reality
and your worldview
of relationships, trust me, it's almost impossible. I believe it's almost impossible to get over it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but those why did I stay married was because of the church's influence, and I just wanted to stay within that.
You wanted to stay in their good book. Yeah.
Not necessarily wanted to stay in their good books, because there were points when I was just being young, dumb, and stupid. I was living my life. There were moments when I was telling her that she should leave me. There were moments, because I said this to you before, and I say this to anyone. She's a phenomenal person, but I just don't think that, in my view, I don't think that we were meant to be. She wasn't for me, and I wasn't for her. I remember in the early dating stages of our relationship, she said to me one day, and this doesn't make her a bad person at all, but I remember I was doing something or saying something, and she said that, why can't you be more like X person?
Oh.
But this guy, when I tell you that this guy is a spiritual to the point where you could call him, well, not Ellen White wouldn't be the right phrase.
Mr. White.
Mr. White.
Yes.
He was so spiritual and holy, and that old soul you would find in this individual.
So she said, why can't you be like that person?
Yeah, and we had a huge argument over it. To the point where even my sister was saying that, I don't know how you should break up with her. But eventually we worked through it, and we got married. But in reality, that was the kind of guy she needed.
Yeah.
I think that guy would have been
perfect for her,
a more suitable partner. Because even though we were in the same faith, we were still unequally yoked.
Wow.
Wait,
you heard that?
Yeah.
You can still be. People believe that as long as they are going to the same church, they're under the same denomination as me, we are equally yoked.
Yeah.
False.
It's false. And the
Completely
church, the church usually teaches that it is the church believe that you should not be joined with
people that are
unbelievers. But it's not unbelievers in the biblical sense. I'm not talking about someone who wants to eisegete scriptures or put their own opinions into it. I'm talking about exegetically. Unequally yoked is not just about unbelievers. It also has to do with alignment. Yes. As we were having the discussion
before,
if the woman wants
to go to Hollywood and become a movie star,
and that's not what you want,
and the man wants to be a farmer, you're gonna want to live in the country. She's gonna want to be in the city.
It's unequally yoked.
It's not the goals and the visions and the values are not aligned.
Right. So unequally
and
yoked,
it can work. I think Dolly Parton and her
1%
but Dolly Parton and her husband got
so we always want to point out the reality that exceptions never make the rules.
True.
But I believe that, well, before I said that, all these things that I made mention of contributed to my divorce. I was just being young, dumb, stupid, doing all the wrong things, and I just didn't think that it was fair to her. And I don't think that it was fair to me either.
Yeah.
Because I was really unhappy. She was unhappy because of the dumb, stupid things that I was doing. So there was a point where I was wrestling between, should I stay to make her happy, or should I leave, find my own happiness, and knowing very well that she will find her own happiness. Because realistically, if I had stayed, would our relationship be better? I don't think so. And the reason why I said that, for 10 years being together, 8 years of praying, I used to pray every year, God, help me to love my wife the way she wants me to love her. Help me to be a better husband, and it's like for a moment it would work, and then the next year I would revert to the same old ways. And for every year I was going through the same roller coaster. So for me, it reached to the point where I didn't feel like I was growing at all. I didn't feel like my life was progressing, especially spiritually. I felt hopeless. I felt lost. I felt like there was no hope in my marriage.
That's crazy.
You know, so at that moment, I'm saying, if I stay, she might be happy, even though she is not happy right now. She might be, but in reality, I might just continue in this same pattern of behavior, which might just be detrimental to both of us in the long run, which might also lead to me losing my soul salvation. When I evaluated those feelings, leaving for me was better for both of us, giving her peace of mind, hoping that she will find the right partner, someone who is truly suitable for her, and hoping that I also will find happiness. And I can say, to God be the glory. Am I happy that I went through a divorce? No.
I was going to
And I
ask you
don't-
that question.
Yeah.
No.
And I don't think that
Nobody
everybody
wants to
should
have to.
glorify
No.
divorce. I wish we had listened to her mother
And do it
just
right
do
one
it
time.
right. Then we would have been married from the beginning.
Yeah.
You know. But I'm still grateful to God for having brought me to this place where I can live my life being in a relationship, because as you know, in my last relationship, as I spoke about cheating and wanting to run off a better opportunity, I wasn't on that time at all. That was not the kind of person I wanted to be. So I am grateful to God that despite the fact that I got divorced, you know, something that he doesn't like and something that of course he knows is ugly, I'm still able to live a far better life than I was living when I was married. You know, so I'm happy, and praise be to God.
Yes. You know, I'm thinking about how you were expressing how you felt, sad, and how staying would have just been to satisfy her, and how, sad and distraught you would have been. And it reminds me of my situation. And granted, when I was going through all of these things, you were not really on my mind. So I was really completely, totally invested in this relationship. And I remember times where I'm just like, I can't stay. It would be better to stay because the children are there. And as we believe, the foundation on which children will stand is the quality of relationship the parents create.
Right.
So I wanted to stay for that reason only. But was I going through hell? Absolutely. Going through hell, beer, head, ball. And it was tough. And I had to make that decision. Am I going to stay here, completely deteriorate mentally, physically, emotionally, disappear? Or am I going to leave? And I did not receive the oomph to actually stay out of that toxic relationship until I heard from someone who had been in that family dynamic, how detrimental it is to the child. Wow. So if my reason was staying because of the children, it was just scrapped, because I realized that if he didn't change, or if I didn't change, then things were not going to get better.
Right.
Is either I'm going to stand up to this person and they're going to back down, or I'm going to continue to quote unquote submit and be the sheepish person that is a nobody.
Right.
And
that
and
would
do-
have created
yeah.
a negative environment for the children
Yeah,
to grow up in,
you
which
know,
would have negatively
yeah.
impacted them.
I'm going to constantly be emotionally abused. And then that's going to lead to physical, which it did go to, sadly,
Wow.
And then that would have just been the dynamic of the home.
Yeah. And, the church is always quick to pass judgment.
Oh, yes.
And let me say this. There's a lot of times I hear people talking about, oh, you shouldn't judge being a Christian. Let me tell you something. As a Christian, you judge those who are within.
And judge righteous judgment.
Yes. So if you guys want to judge us, you should. I'm not one who who is going to be hypocritical to talk about, oh, you shouldn't judge. Listen, as Christians, as I said, we judge those who are within. And if judgment is to be passed, you pass judgment, you know. But in reality, the church is always quick to judge when people get divorced. Oh, God, hate divorce and you're not going to heaven.
Beat you over your head,
You're not going to make it to heaven because you got divorced.
Worse if you get remarried.
Worse if you get remarried.
Mercy.
But I just thank God that He's the final judge and He has the final say.
Absolutely.
But one of the challenges I have with the church community, the Christian community, is that oftentimes you see people fail. You know, you never find the congregation giving full support. You might find one and two people who might come out and, you know, still talk to you, be positive. But I'm telling you that as soon as someone hears that something happened negatively in your life, like I remember when, you know, I was serving as an elder, I was preaching all over the place. And there were young men who I thought that these young men who were young men who genuinely respected me. But as soon as they heard that, hey, this guy is getting divorced, you know, the news started going around and people started to find the reasons for the divorce. He's divorcing because of the, you know, it's like they prey on your downfall. And you know something that happened? A few months after, the pastor removed a number of those young men, including that particular one, from church office, you know. But it's never good to prey on your brother or sister's downfall. It's always good to support. And not only that, how invested is the church
In ensuring.
in ensuring that as young people, we select, or those who are trying to date, they select the right partner, as we made mention of. And as the Bible rightfully says, a partner who is suitable for you.
Yeah, it's crazy. It doesn't happen.
It almost never.
Almost never.
Because there's a reason why the scripture says, find you a wife who is suitable for you. It simply means that
Not everybody
is suitable.
Not everybody.
There are a lot of jackets out there, you know, and yet this one fits me very well. Another guy might get this exact jacket, but it might be a little bit too tight or a little bit too loose, you know, so...
You look nice, by the way.
Thank you, baby. You too. You look beautiful. But in reality, suitability is very, very important to a partner selection or to your partner selection. That's very important. It's vital. You talk about compatibility. Again, you know, there are a number of factors that needs to be aligned. They need to be in place when you are selecting a partner. It's not just about, oh, he doesn't go to my church, or oh, he's a Sunday worshiper and I am a Sabbath worshiper, so I'm not going to. You know,
it's deeper than that.
It's far deeper than that.
And you're saying that it would be nice if the church helps with that process.
Of course,
the family
church
and the
be
church,
invested.
because you know. Why we're saying that is because we know how eager and excited church people get when you're in a relationship, or even if you go to a church and you're single, they'll ask if you have anyone, and they'll try to find somebody for you. I've had people try to find
so many times.
I've gone to church before.
Yes.
And people are trying to find me somebody that they know to hook me up with so I could get married. Listen, look, I don't want to get married to you. Me look like marry me up on the fire.
Right. Church. And then you wonder why the divorce rate, especially because we were talking about this recently. And we were looking at the divorce rate, especially among believers. The divorce rate has proliferated to such a high degree. Like we're wondering like what's
Left,
happening,
right,
what is
everybody,
really everybody I knew,
everybody I knew that got
I knew
married.
that got married in my period of time,
Divorced.
they are divorced. You know, and it makes you wonder why. And that's why suitability is so important. And not only that, but I remember when I just came into the church in 2009. Maybe this was respective to my pastor at the time, but he had a program where, you know, he was teaching youth. It was rap session.
Ooh, rap session.
And we used to talk about dating and courtship. Even in Bible class, there were some Bible classes, Bible studies that we did, and he would talk about dating. The whole Bible class would be about dating. And then we had the AYs, the fellowship, the youth fellowship programs, which was about dating, courtship, and we learned that dating is just getting to know somebody, while courtship is when you single that person out, and people don't date anymore.
No.
Dating today is courtship.
Yes.
You know, and that's crazy. Dating today is what we considered courtship. But the thing is, the church is not really having these programs anymore. I remember when I got to my home church, like it's almost like they'd never had a youth program. You had elderly folk reading scriptures. You know, you had elderly people announcing opening songs. I had to say to the elder, hey, you have all these young people.
And if you come down, no.
Why don't you get these young people to just go up there, pray a little prayer, announce the opening song, read the scriptures, get them involved. Because I remember I said to him, if you don't get these young people involved, then this church won't have a future.
No.
You know?
And then they wonder why the young people don't want their own. You're not getting them involved.
They don't feel
like a part of anything.
Right. And personally for me, if I'm going to go to a church and they don't have a youth program, I don't want to be there. In fact, if I'm going to visit a church who doesn't have any youth, it says a lot about the church.
True. It's dying.
It's dying. It's a dying church. Why would I want to be a part of a dying church? You know? So it's important for the church to be invested
and
in
also,
youth development. Not only in ensuring that they get a good education and go to school and all of that, but teaching them about dating, relationships, and all of these things, because they are very important to the growth and development of every youth.
That's true. That's true. And it's important if you are serious about like I was doing things God's way, do it his way entirely. Study it in its entirety. God doesn't just want you to get married. He wants you to get married to the suitable partner, right? God doesn't just want X. He wants this. He wants there's a particular way. So you can decide that, okay, I'm going to get married. That's just one box you've ticked. Have you gone through the list to ensure that you're doing it his way? It's not just marriage. You have to choose the right person, because if you don't, then things will get ugly. And you can stick it out. I stuck it out for 2 years. My endurance only kept me that long. You stuck it out for 8 plus years. But, do it right. Do it right. And study and do it right.
And well, we said this before, but finding someone is suitable is very important. The question is, how long did you dated before you got married?
Dated.
Or courted.
Because we didn't date, 6 months. It was very quick. And it wasn't even 6 months of continuous interaction face to face, because I remember COVID hit and he left. So we literally maybe had maybe a week of face to face interactions.
Right.
Okay, this is what you look like happy. This is what you look like this. We didn't have much time.
Right. And
I know it sounds weird, but he was the one who set the wedding date. And I was like, okay, I want to do things God's way. So I guess, date set. But it was quick, 6 months, and then we got married.
Sometimes I wonder if time has anything to do with it. One thing I can say, there are a lot of people who, they just saw somebody and they said, yep, he's the one. Yep, she's the one.
1%, babe.
And
1%.
They never make the rule.
Yes,
okay.
1%.
So we're not even going to talk about that 1%, But is timing important in dating?
It is.
In general, it is. I think it is. I dated for 2 years and, I still ended up in divorce. You dated for 6 months, still ended up in divorce.
Yeah.
Are we a part of the 1%? For me personally, it is very important that you take time and get to know the person. One of the factors that I also see missing from dating is that a lot of times when you're dating someone, people don't really try to get to know the family anymore. And let me finish my comment because this is a hard point. Let me finish my comment.
Tell them, babe. You're serious.
So one of the things that I see, let me just say this over again. One of the things that I see in dating is that one of the main factor that I see missing from dating today is that people don't really take time to know the family anymore.
Tell me.
And in reality, no one knows the person you are dating, the person who you will go on to court, the person who you will go on to marry, more than their immediate family.
Yes.
People don't necessarily ask questions about who this person is. And in reality, there are a lot of times when a lot of family members are honest enough to say
and
that
would discourage it.
This person is not the best fit for you and I will discourage it. But people don't really take the time to really get that level of investment, put that level of investment into truly knowing the person who you want to spend the rest of your life with. And family is important in that dynamics. And we are a living example of that, how much our family gels together and how much they both both sides of the family wanted us to be together. But that is something that we see missing. And I think that if more time was truly spent on knowing the person that you are getting involved with,
and their
by way of getting involved with the family, go to those family functions. If he's not inviting you,
problem,
red flag. If she's not inviting you, red flag. It's important to get to know the family of the person who you want to live out the rest of your days with. And a lot of times we hear again where some people would say, "Fee mother not like me."
It's not a big deal. That's a humongous deal.
Or the man will say, "Cho,
our father don't like me. It's not a big deal."
And even my past relationship was like that. I don't know if her father liked me or if he didn't like me.
But
it
you
was
had
just
the
strange.
sense that
it was just a strange relationship. And what you find sometimes is, even when people make their own decisions, if you are involved with someone who has a family member in their ears,
problem.
It doesn't matter if they make their own decision. Trust me, there are words being said that will help to influence the decisions that they go on to make in the future.
That's true.
So it's important to date someone whose family approves of you.
That's true.
And that is important. We saw that dynamic throughout scriptures where both sides of the family was always involved in the joining together. So is family important in that? It's absolutely important. The time frame?
Absolutely.
Age? Talk about age. Talk about age.
Like, do you think it's okay? Don't even think about the 1%. Is it? And I'm asking you guys too. But do you think it's okay for a woman to marry, or a woman to marry a man that is younger than her, even if they're in their 30s? Like, let's say she's 30 and he is 4 years younger or 3 years younger. Do you think it's safe? What would you recommend? What are your thoughts on a woman marrying a younger man?
I will say this.
Leave your comments in the comment box.
I will say this. If the difference in age comes in the sense where she's 30 and he's in his early 20s.
Mercy said no.
Then it's a no.
Absolutely not. Not even no.
Because personally, while you may have that 1%, I don't believe, my belief is that young men, young women who are in their early 20s are not fully prepared to handle the responsibilities that comes with marital relationship or relationships. That's a whole new level of challenges, you know. And while it is true that you might have gone through experiences in your life that would have sprouted your growth and development,
Not ready for you for this.
when it comes to marriage, there is no amount of experience that you can go through that truly prepares you for the process. Does the experiences that you go through help? They do. Is it enough? It depends on the age that you are at. And in reality, we still see people being mature enough, quote unquote, being at the age level where you would think or you would believe that this person is at that age in their 30s, their late 20s, 27, 28, 29, 30, 40, and they are at that age where they are ready for marriage. They can handle it. But sometimes those marriages still fail. But apart from that, young men, young women, there is a lot about life that we need to experience. When you're in your early 20s, you're going through what is called the identity crisis. You're not ready for a relationship yet. Worse marriage.
No disrespect. No.
Can you date?
Absolutely.
Within the context of dating?
Correctly.
Yes. Get to know people.
Talk to them. See who they are. How do they handle conflict? How do they handle stress?
Right.
You know, what are their values?
Right.
And goals? Yes.
But again, see me
and live with me.
and come live with me. A two different story.
Yeah.
That's what we say in Jamaica. You know? So at that young age, my encouragement to young people is enjoy their youth. And enjoying your youth doesn't mean that you should go around having sex with Stacy and Mary and Sharon or Tom, Dick and Harry. It simply means that be a youth, go to school, get your education, you know, try to work and develop yourself, go through the reflective practice, you know, see your strengths and weaknesses and work on your weaknesses. As a man especially, try to become the best version of society, not even of yourself. Take it higher. Try to become the best version of society.
Of society standard. Yeah.
So that you can position yourself in a place where you will have what you need, both in character, both physically, go to the gym, work out, you know, take care of your health, take care of your body. So do those things in your youth so that you can position yourself at the age of, you know, 27, 28, 29, 30 to choose the woman you want to spend the rest of your life with. You know, and that's a huge difference. There's a difference in having a woman choose you and you choosing the woman you want to be with. When you are not in the position to make a choice, you don't have any choice. You know. So
say that again. Rewind.
Yeah, when you are not in a position to make a choice, you don't have any choice. So if you want to be the kind of person who is going to decide on the woman that you want to be with, you need to position yourself to be able to do that. And if you're getting married at 21 years old, unless you have some family inheritance, you're not ready.
And even if you have family inheritance, we mentioned it before.
Mentally you're not
ready unless somebody download everything into you and you're an 80-year-old man in a 21-year-old body. Finances does not prepare you. It is nice. It's a great cushion. You know, but if you're stupid with money, you will lose it.
You will lose
You'll squander it.
Because like for us, we started picking sense out of nonsense when we
late
were 27, 27, 28. 27 was that age when I was sitting down. I was like, damn. Really, I got the palm one, you know. Those are I'm going to really be out there on my own. I'm going to really be, and I've been on my own from what, 16?
16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at 16 years old, being out on my own from 16, and I was still not prepared at 21, 22, 23
For marriage.
marriage. So talk about hardships. Hardships prepare you for some struggles in life, some level of struggles. It doesn't necessarily prepare you for all struggles.
Okay.
So it goes back to what I always say, that maturity comes in stages.
It does.
So that would be my encouragement. And I think, baby, this we can end our conversation here. So, give your last 2 pence
Yeah.
and wrap it up.
Definitely. Yes. And I can't wait for us to talk about our experiences with dating within this culture.
Oh,
Ooh. Are you ready for that? Yes.
Whew.
Ready for that, babe?
Why?
Yep. It's going to be a roller coaster, guys. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I have a few experiences, my dear. That I definitely want to.
I definitely have my questions.
But shoot them.
Yes.
Shoot them.
No.
No.
No. Okay.
But yeah, for sure.
Yes.
So.
Well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode where we spoke about why we stayed married and why we got divorced. If you like our content, we are also available on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Show us some love over there. Unfiltered Heart Talks.
See you guys. Stay tuned for the next one.